If you run a small PR team or you are the PR team, this episode is for you. You don't have 20 account managers, you don't have a giant media database budget, and you definitely don't have time to waste. But here's the truth that small PR teams can outperform big agencies only and only if they build the right workflows and use the right tools. Today, I'm breaking down exactly how small PR teams can achieve big results using simple systems, lean processes, and smart tech. So let's begin with only practical and repeatable execution. Before we get tactical, let's reframe something, which is that small teams aren't disadvantaged, they are rather faster because you have faster decision making, tighter communication, less internal politics, more ownership per person. Whereas, on the other hand, large agencies lose time in approval chains, Slack threads, looping someone in, and multiple rounds of internal revisions. That's why I say that small teams can actually ship faster, and in PR, speed compounds. But speed without any solid plan or structure becomes chaos. So let's talk about structure. Here's the simple workflow that I personally follow and is something that is tried and tested, which is you first start with signal monitoring, and that's something that you can do daily and you must do daily. So, what exactly signal monitoring is? But before we answer that, you need to understand one thing that as a PR specialist, your job is not to pitch randomly, your job is not to cover as many pitches as possible, and your job is, of course, not prioritizing quantity over quality. Your job is to respond to signals, and signals include journalist requests like the ones that you get from Harrow, quoted, uh, B2B helper, B2B writer, etc. Trending industry news, competitor coverage, client milestones, podcast guest request, and you can even use tools tagged like Google Alerts, Harrow quoted as I mentioned earlier, then Twitter list, LinkedIn search alerts. So these are some of the tools that you can use to signal monitoring. And you need to really note here that we are not starting pitching yet. We are only focusing on identifying the relevant opportunities because that's something that most PR journalists skip, and they should not because it's a really important step. The next step is opportunity scoring, which is sort of 5 minute filter. You need to understand that not every request deserves your time. You need to create a simple scoring filter to make sure what are the relevant queries that you need to answer to. And in order to create a simple scoring filter, you can add few questions to it, like is the outlet aligned with the client ICP? Is the journalist credible? Can we provide a strong POV and insight? Is the deadline realistic? And then you score from 1 to 5, and anything under 3 you just skip it because small teams win by saying no. Step 3 will be repeatable pitch templates. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. You just need to create 5 to 7 pitch skeletons, expert commentary, data driven response, founder story angle, contrarian opinion, case study breakdown. So these are the elements that must be in your pitch skeleton. And then you can personalize first sentence referencing to the particular journalist that you're targeting. You can reference to their recent article. You can share specific insight tied to the query. And then you also monitor the time under 20 minutes per high quality pitch. And if it takes longer, your workflow is broken. But with that being said, it's also important to understand that these pitch skeletons are only for the faster process. Each query is different and each journalist is different. You need to make sure that you understand the necessity or the details of the query that a particular journalist is posting. And then based on that, you can, of course, personalize your skeleton, your pitch overall. So let's now get on to the fourth step, sorry, which is follow-up system. Now, once you have identified the relevant query, you have also sent the pitch. It's also important to set up a solid follow-up system because most PR teams don't follow up properly and regularly. For that, you can create a simple rule. What you can do is you can follow up once after every 48 hours. The email that you send, the follow up that you send should be under 3 lines, and you can also add, new value. Like you can add new data point, code refinement, angle shift in your initial pitch. And then you can also use tools like Gmail scheduled send, Streak, or HubSpot. Even a simple Google Sheet tracker would work. Talking about Google Sheet Tracker, that is something that I've spoken about in my previous video, so you can check that out. And then you can also set a Google Sheet Tracker, which is pretty simple. You don't have to have fancy tools. It's a simple one. So yeah, and also remember that one follow-up increases win rate significantly. Talking about step 5, which is coverage repurposing engine. This is where small teams unlock big results. One media mention should become LinkedIn content, website social proof, email newsletter snippet, enablement asset, and podcast pitch leverage. So you create a checklist for repurposing because coverage is not the end goal. The end goal is distribution. The next part is about lean PR tool stack. So there are a couple of practical stack that works for small teams, and they are really helpful. For example, for organization, you can use Notion or ClickUp for campaign tracking, Airtable for journalist database. Even Google Sheets is effective, I think. And then for outreach, you can use Gmail plus templates and Hunter.io for email discovery. So there are pretty much multiple options that you can get under, what tools you would want to have for your team. For monitoring, you have different tools as well, like McRank, but that's the paid one. So if your budget allows, then go for it. Otherwise, you have other free options as well, like Google Alerts, Harrow, Quoted, etc. And then, of course, AI support, but you need to use it smartly and don't rely on it completely. Just use AI support to draft angle variations, headline brainstorming, summarize journalist style, refine positioning. So you need to make sure that AI should reduce your drafting time and not replace your thinking, because your thinking and expertise is what the journalists want. Then we'll talk about weekly cadence for a 1 to 3% team. And here's a realistic weekly structure. For example, on Monday you can do the signal scan, priority pitch selection, client sync. On Tuesday or Wednesday you can draft and send pitches, follow-ups. Thursday, just focus on relationship building, which is commenting on journalist post, engage on LinkedIn so they know who you are. And then maybe on Friday, you can do the coverage amplification, reporting, pipeline cleanup, structure of maybe you can structure the next week's plan, or maybe reflect on the current week's plan and whatever the task that you did, what results it gave you, because structure prevents burnout and burnout kills consistency, and consistency is really important when we talk about anything, but here PR. So yeah, that's that. And then there are also metrics that actually matters. For example, you need to be very clear with what metrics you track or you follow. So you can make some of the really important metrics to track are pitches sent, response rate, coverage rate, tire quality, leads influenced, if possible, because small teams don't need dashboards with 20 KPIs. All they need is clarity. Then next would be that it's a small thing, but really important, which is small is a strategic. Big agencies win on volume, but small teams win on precision. If you respond to real signals, filter aggressively, use templates intelligently, follow up consistently, repurpose everything, you will outperform teams that are 5x your size, because PR isn't about how many people you have, it's about how well your system works. If this helped, share it with another founder or PR lead running lean. And remember, you don't need a big team to get big coverage. You just need a tight system. So, see you in the next one. Thank you.